friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Emily and my channel is completely devoted to all things memory keeping, so be sure to click that subscribe button so you don't miss my memory keeping videos that come out about every other week. Today I'm going to be making a 12 by 12 layout using a 6 by 8 photo, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of watercoloring to kind of tie it all together. I'm using 12 by 12 Strathmore 140 pound watercolor paper, which I will link below. It took me so long to find 12 by 12 watercolor paper, and I absolutely love it because I love using watercolor in my scrapbooking. I'm leaving lots of room for journaling on the left because I have a lot to say about this. This story is about a lake I've been going to my whole life, ever since I was a kid, and just a really important place to me. And this summer it suffered horrible damage due to wildfires, and we were there celebrating my birthday just 2 days before it was completely ravaged by wildfires. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time reflecting on how important this place has been to me over the course of my life, and just what it means to have this damage done to the place. And yeah, so that's what this story is about. I tried to do a little bit of a prototype with watercolor before. I really didn't like how that turned out, but I liked this dark color that I mixed up, and so I'm just going to be using that one, and all of the other colors I'm not going to be using. So I'm just going to be doing a little bit of watercoloring along the bottom edge of the paper, and I'm speeding the video up. The whole layout took me about 35 minutes from start to finish. So I use the wet on wet method. I just really like how watercolor moves in water that's already on the page. And I'm doing it in kind of a pattern that's reminiscent of the mountains that are in the photo. Not exactly, I mean, they're not really supposed to look like mountains. It's just supposed to be kind of like an abstract watercolor detail on the bottom of the page, and I'm just kind of like going back and forth to make some spots a little bit darker and some spots a little bit lighter. Where there's going to be pooling, your paint is going to pool and it's going to be a little bit darker, which I like there to be a lot of variability in watercoloring. I like, you know, there to be some light spots and there to be just some dark spots. And then I also wanted there to be some paint splashes, so I'm just putting quite a bit of paint and water on the paintbrush and then tapping it. And that's what it looked like once it dried. So the letters I'm going to be using are from the Ali Edwards Good Old Days collection. So I did not have a K. So what I did was I cut an X in half, not quite in half, a little bit more than in half, and then I used an I. So that's a hack if you need to make a K. I have a lot of those because I often will make letters out of other letters. So I decided not to do any kind of layering under my photo because I wanted the I to be drawn to the title, and I thought if I did too much layering on the photo that your eye would be drawn there first. So I'm using Yes Paste, which I really love. It's archival. It's just a great, super adhesive glue that works really well for embellishments, especially big embellishments like chipboard letters. So my concern was being able to see that crack in the K. Sometimes if you have a seam in your letters, you can just push them together close enough to make it so you don't see the seam. But no matter how closely I pushed these two letters together, I think just based on the way I cut it, that seam was not disappearing. So I went into my stash and I found some yellow felt stars, and I believe that they are from Ali Edwards, but I really don't remember exactly what kit they were from. But my thought was they would hide the seam of the K, and it would also tie in the yellow from the kayaks and the paddles. So I had already adhered the K down, so this part was a little messy, but I really wanted to staple the little felt star onto the K. I really like how stapled embellishments look. It just gives it a nice little texture, and it also is just a very secure way to adhere embellishments, especially things like felt that don't take on glue super well. So my next step was figuring out how I was going to do my journaling. If I had had a typewriter, I would have just stuck my layout in my typewriter to type in my journaling because I didn't want to miss out on the watercolor splash background. But I don't have a typewriter, so my plan is to use inkjet vellum and print it on vellum and then adhere the vellum down so that you can still see the watercolor detailing through it, and hopefully it'll provide some nice texture for the layout too. But before I could get to my journaling, I wanted to stamp a subtitle that says I love, so it reads Lake I Love. And I'm stamping this backwards because I wanted it to be justified with the photo. Off camera, I went and printed my journaling on inkjet vellum, and I really liked how you could read the journaling really well but still see the ink splashes behind the journaling. So then my next dilemma was how to adhere the journaling. I thought at first I was going to staple it, but actually the stapler didn't reach that far in on the page. So I decided to use brads, and not for the purpose of swiveling, but just for adhering it. Sometimes adhering vellum can be a challenge because it will show the adhesive behind it unless you adhere the entire thing, which I don't have the capacity to do. So I put a brad through the top of it and then stapled down the bottom so that it wouldn't move. It does curl up a little bit at the top, but I kind of like that sometimes. I like there to be texture, and I like the pages to flow naturally where they go. And on this layout, I am putting 2 dates. The date that the photo was taken and the date that I'm creating the layout. So sometimes I do that if the date is important to the story, and I think I might want to remember later what date the photo was taken. So you can tell if I have 2 dates that the earlier of the 2 is when the photo was taken and the later of the 2 is when I made the layout. So I felt like this just needed a little bit more, so I was kind of looking through my stamps to see what might work, and this stamp just came in my January Studio Calico Documenter kit. I really like this stamp. It says this story is my fave. I can already tell I'm going to use this stamp a ton, and because it was partially going to be stamped on the photo, I used Stays On Pigment, which is an alcohol-based ink, so you can always use it on any kind of surface and it will stick. And then also in this same stamp set, it has a little stamp that says memory, and I just thought that kind of tied my journaling together a little bit. And I just wanted one more little word phrase stamp. So this is a story set a stamp set that I got at Story Camp. And I don't think it's actually widely available, but it is from Ali Edwards. And so I pulled off a little word phrase that says remember this, and that is it. That's the whole layout. I hope you guys enjoyed this sort of watercolor layout, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up and let me know what you thought in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video.